Okay.
Yeah, ma'am. Yeah.
Audible. Okay. Fine. I'll just present my screen. You just confirm whether it is visible. Okay. Is the screen visible?
Yes, yes.
It's 10 o'clock now. We'll start the program. First, good morning, all participants. On behalf of Coral Metrix, I am Sujata Raguraman. I am a chartered accountant. I have been practicing for the past 12 years. And I have a lot of senior citizen clients and other clients. We are more into taxation, audit, and indirect taxes. So the reason for arranging this program is that many of our clients, in particular senior citizens, they express their need for planning about their assets and how to take care of their wealth and how to pass it on to the next generation and things like that. Then then I realized that it's a right time, instead of explaining client wise, calling them and explaining about the provisions. Let us have a program so that it will benefit all the participants, in particular senior citizens. Though you may call it as a senior citizens, it is not restricted to senior citizens. Because of COVID, I think it's a right time for us to, for all of us, to have a proper planning on how to go about our safeguarding our assets or passing it on to the next generation, right? So with this brief introduction, I welcome all of you for this succession planning program. And towards end of the program, I would like all of you to post your questions in the Q&A box. You will see a Q&A. Do you see a Q&A with the question mark on your left? You can post your questions, and if anybody wants to ask any questions, yes, there is an option to enable the mic on and video also on. I can enable it. So if you have any questions, you please raise your hand. There is an option for raising hand. I think Mr. Balagopal has already raised his hand. I'm not sure whether he has clicked it for raising any questions or he has clicked that button. So if you have any doubts, please reserve it towards the end. We can always attend to it. Okay. So this program is for about 30 to 45 minutes. Okay. So with that, I would like to get into the main session. This is about succession planning. So what is the succession planning is all about? Sandhya, the screen is visible, right?
Yes, ma'am. Yeah, visible.
I'll just put it.
Yeah, ma'am. It's visible.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. So basically, I will just start with the simple story. I think you all must be knowing this story. This is from Mahabharata, our epic Mahabharata. When Yudhishthira and his brothers were exiled for 12 years, they were coming back to their kingdom. When they came back, when they were returning on their way, they were very tired, so they were taking rest at a place in a forest. Then Yudhishthira said, Nakul, I am very thirsty, so please climb up the tree and just check whether any lakes are around. So Nakula went to the nearby lake to fetch some water. When he went near the lake and he was about to touch the water, there is a Rakshasa. His name is called Yaksha. He asked, stop taking water from my lake. You have to answer certain questions. Then Nakul said, no, I am very thirsty. I can't answer. So he started drinking water. Then the Yaksha made him to faint and he fell down. Long time since Nakul didn't return, Yudhishthira said, other brother Sahadev, you please go and check what happened to Nakul. Again, Sahadev went to fetch water. He also did the same thing. He touched water. He didn't answer the question. He fainted and he fell down. Then the next brother, after a long time since he also didn't return, Yudhishthira got worried. Then he sent his next brother, Arjun. Arjun also did the same thing. He didn't return. Again, the time was, the time was passing. So Yudhishthira got worried. Last, he went. Okay, he went to fetch water. Same voice came asking, "Don't touch the water unless and until you answer my question. I will not allow you to quench your thirst." Then Yudhishthira asked, "Okay, now I am ready. You tell me what is your question." He asked many questions. Do you know what is the purest thing in earth? He said, mother's love. Who is the most important person in the world? He said, mother. So like that, Yaksha asked so many questions. Out of that one question, you will find it very interesting. Yaksha asked, do you know what is the most surprising thing in the world? Yudhishthira answered, death. You know why? Everybody knows that death is certain, but the most surprising part is that no human being wants to accept the fact that death is everybody is going to face the death, right? Then Yaksha was so happy with the answer, and then he allowed, that's how the story goes. The reason why I'm saying is that we all of us know that all of us are going to die one day. I'm very sorry to touch certain sensitive topic, but it's a fact, because we all of us need to know the essentials of life and planning. And even when you are taking insurance, unless and until you predict that you are going to die, or it's a common thing, so there is nothing sensitive about accepting the facts. So the reason is that many of us know that yes, all of us are going to die one day. When the human being is created, when the person is born, the expiry date is fixed. It's just a matter of time. We do not know the expiry date. That's all. The date is fixed, only the date we do not know. That's the only thing. So having that in mind, we all of us, throughout our life, we save our money, we build assets, and we have good intention to pass it on to our children. But unfortunately, when it comes to the final years of our life, many, in particular the rich people, fail to plan in the way that it has to be planned. Okay, so that is the need for, the basic idea of this session is that yes, you have health currently. You all of us are in a good health, and all of you have money. And how to pass it on to the next generation, or till your lifetime, how to safeguard your assets in the proper way, so that the beneficiary, or the whomever you want to feel that needs to be safeguarded till your lifetime, are in a safe position. That is the basic idea of this session. So why do we need to plan for succession? Like, we all have money, so it is automatically going to go back, going to go pass it on to our children. So what is the need for it? Yes, there is a need, because now we are in the transition phase, right? Transition phase, what I mean is that even if you are a senior citizen, even if you are a 75 years old, you are forced to learn technology, even for a simple thing. Even if you don't like it, even if you want to go from one place to the other place, even to catch a airport, even if you want to catch a train, you are forced to use the technology using mobile app for Uber booking or Ola booking. So the technology has intruded in such a way that it has not left any person without knowing or without using the technology. So if you are in the transition phase, since you have assets, it's time for you to consolidate all your assets. Banks are also insisting that you need to have your own username, password, online banking and all that, but senior people find it difficult to use the online platform. But having said that, it is not a choice. You compulsorily have to make use of the technology. So when it comes to succession planning, all of you have assets in different modes. Like some of them have it in online, some of them have it in physical mode, some of them have it in demat, some of them still having it in a paper form. So it's right time for you to consolidate all your assets. The assets, what I mean is that including your fixed deposit, your post office account, or your savings bank account, or whatever it may be. Because people, once when they become older, either they settle down at their children's place, or they find their place of interest and then they move their accounts and all the bank accounts to that place, whereas probably they would have worked in some other place, some other state. So that being the case, now the core banking is in place. Please consolidate all your assets. Consolidate, what I mean is that do not keep more than maximum of 3 bank accounts. Okay, maximum of 3 bank accounts. So consolidate all your assets. And when, even if you have multiple properties, make sure that whatever way you have planned it, because when I say fixed assets, immobile property, it is not as easy as closing the bank account. You need to, it's a long term planning. It requires at least 1 or 2 years of planning. If you have multiple assets in different states, please consolidate and make sure that the complexities involved in any transfer is minimized. And also that if you want to uh, when things are going smooth, absolutely no problem. When it is something goes wrong in the family, it is a common fact. I mean, it is not only in the middle class or any upper middle class or any high wealth society, including Ambani, Mukesh Ambani or Anil Ambani's case. This has happened because Dhirubhai Ambani left all his assets. You will be surprised to know the fact that he did not even write a will. Okay, so even if you are a rich person or middle class, please make sure that consolidating all your assets, and the survivors, whomever is your, you feel that they have to enjoy the property, are all clearly passed on the message that they are going to be the beneficiaries. And if you have any inherited property, of course, you have to understand that if it is an inherited property, you have only the right to enjoy. It has to be passed on to the next generation. Just 1 minute.
Not audible.
Just
Just No, ma'am, it's not audible.
Okay. Is video visible?
Yeah, now it's fine.
Screen is visible now?
No, you're not shared screen yet. No, it's not.
Is it visible now?
Yeah, now it's visible.
Yeah. Sorry. So, if you want to protect your ancestors' property, or you want your own property to pass it on to your own to your next generation, there is a need for succession planning, and you have to execute in the way how it has to be executed. Okay, so now it's time for us to understand what is a will. You all of you know what a will is. Will is nothing but it's a legal declaration. Basically, if you want to pass on your whether immobile assets or mobile assets to your next generation through a legal means, a will needs to be written. Okay, so people may ask under what are the laws which are applicable for writing the will. If you look at our laws, there are two acts which are governing the succession planning. Those two acts are Indian Succession Act, which is 1925, and Hindu Succession Act 1956. These two are the major acts which are governing the will. So now we may ask, what is it? What whether property needs to be transferred to the next generation? Can I transfer it without will, or is it necessary that will needs to be returned and then only it can be passed on to the next generation? It is not so. Even without writing a will, you can always, the property by inherited property or through the Hindu Succession Act, even without writing a will, it goes to the next generation. So as far as Hindus are concerned, like, you may be you may belong to the a follower of Jain or Buddhism, then or Hindu, then Hindu Succession Act and Indian Succession Act will follow. If you are a Parsi or Christian, then only the Indian Succession Act will follow, not the Hindu Succession Act. And if you are a Muslim, then you may have to necessarily follow Shariat law, because Shariat law gives certain rules and specifications on, specifications on under which the inherited property or your own self acquired property can be transferred. So you necessarily have to follow that law. Other two laws are not applicable. So when you are writing a will, if you are writing a will, then it goes as per the Indian Succession Act. Now, if you may ask, apart from that, is there any other acts are applicable? Of course, you have to keep in mind Income Tax Act is always in place, because there are certain provisions which will impact the as per the provisions of Income Tax Act, you may have to take care certain issues with respect to wills and passing on your wealth to the next generation. So there are two types of will. uh, when I say will, death without a will. Okay, there are two things. Okay, once a person dies, either he can pass on his wealth by writing a will or without writing a will. Whenever he is passing on his wealth without writing a will, then all the properties, like whether immobile property or movable property, all the assets of the person who has died will pass it on to the next generation as per the Hindu Succession Act or Indian Succession Act. And as I said, if he is not, if he has died without writing a will, okay, there are two terminologies which you have to understand: intestate, okay, or testamentary. If it is an intestate, means a person who has passed on his asset without writing a will. Okay, without writing a will, then obviously the provisions of Indian Succession Act will follow. What is the order in which it has to be passed on? I know many will have a doubt. Okay, I have a very close relative of mine, I want to pass on some benefits to her. So is there any provision that I necessarily need to write a will, or even without writing a will, my children on their own interest whether they can pass it on. So if you legally ask me, unless and until you write a will, you the benefits of your earnings or the ancestral property, obviously ancestral property will go on to the next generation. Unless and until you write a will, the benefit that you want to transfer it to someone else other than your family members cannot be transferred after your death. Okay, so you have to be careful. There is a need for writing the will and passing on to the next generation. So as far as the section 8 of the Hindu Succession Act is concerned, it goes to the there is a family tree. I think you all must be aware of what a family tree is. Once there is a structure to it, you have to appropriately, when you want to pass on your asset in case of any larger families or any big Hindu HUF, Hindu undivided families. In such cases, it is necessary for you to have a family tree, including all the heirs, starting from your forefathers and your grandfather and your father and yourself, and including all your children. Family tree needs to be created. This you can do it with the help of your any elderly person in your family or any of your relatives. You have to construct the family tree. Once a family tree is constructed, then you have family tree is nothing but it's just a chart, plotting all the names and with a diagrammatic representation of your family structure. That is what is called as a family tree in legal terms. So when it comes to the legal heirs, who's the first heir? As per the Hindu Succession Act, there are four types of rules are to be followed. First is that it goes to the specified legal heir. They are called as the class 1 legal heir, and second is that the class 2 legal heir, and thirdly there are other two classes, and fourthly, if there is nobody is there, there is no agnate or cognates. Agnate means in case of male succession, the relatives of the male members will take the preference in acquiring the property. Cognate means in case of female members, in case of death, the passing on the property or benefits will follow the rule of cognates. So when nothing, when the rule 1 fails, rule 2 fails, rule 3 fails, then it goes to the government. It goes to the assets goes to the government, it to the president's account. So that's how the rule is formed. So when you are planning for your succession planning, you may have to consider who are all your first legal heir and second legal heir. In case of any inherited property, you may be the first legal heir, or you may be the second legal heir. So for you to understand in detail, this is more of problem oriented, and it is a specific issue. We cannot generalize saying, okay, I have a property and who would be the legal heir, who would be the second legal heir. It is very difficult to explain. So when you have any specific issues, that can be handled, but just for your basic understanding, it has to follow the class 1, class 2 legal heirs. And if nobody is there, like class 1, class 2, class 3 fails, then it goes to the government. So in case of, this is what I have just mentioned, who are all the class 1 heirs. In case of class 1 heir means, in case if you have, assuming you have a inherited property, and you are the you are the first, your husband, I mean, for example, I have a property which I got inherited from my father. Okay, so when I have inherited from my father, how many, I have got two sons and one husband. Okay, in such case, and I have got two brothers. So me, including me, I have, my father has three children, plus I have got two children, and then my brothers have two children each. If that be the case, including my mother plus my mother, so including them, it will be divided into 1/10. Each one of them will get 1/10 of the property which got inherited from my father. Okay, that's how it runs. Assuming there is a, let us come to the simple example. Mr. A owns a property. He has got two sons and one wife. If in this case, after his death, his sons will get a share and his wife also will get a share. So it goes as one by one third for his wife, one third for his son, one third for his another son. So all three put together, one third plus one three, one third plus one third put together will form will be equally divided. All three of them will equally share the property. This is how it goes. Assuming there is a this is if you do not write a will. Assume if you write a will, then according to your wish it is passed on to the next generation. In case of inherited property, not only you do not have the right to choose, it automatically goes to your wife. Your share will go to your wife and your children, and their children will also get the right to enjoy as well as alienate once when they become major. So that's how the rules are framed. So the one thing what I want to drive here is that if you have inherited property, please ensure that you pass on the benefits to all your grandchildren. Okay. Whereas if you have self acquired property, many people have that wrong notion. I have a self acquired property, I do not want to give to my sons, but I want to give it to my grandchildren. Okay, please keep in mind that is not possible unless and until you write a will. Otherwise, grandchildren cannot enjoy grandfather's property without without it being passed on to their spouse and their children or daughter. Okay, so these are all the specific issues which you have to keep in mind when you are writing a will. And how the property is devolved, like you may just take an example. If A dies with the will, he dies intestate. Okay, he owns a immobile property and movable property. There are, let us take two examples. Mr. A has a property, he dies without writing the will, what happens? He writes a will and dies, what happens? You have to understand, the will comes into play or comes into effect only after death of that person who has written the will. So when he writes the will and dies, it goes as per the directions or according to his wishes or whatever he has legally documented in his will. According to that instruction, it is getting passed on to the beneficiaries. Assuming he has not written a will, then it goes to his wife or whoever. No, if a wife dies, then it goes to the husband, then to their children. That is the normal rule. Now, let us understand what are all the basic terms which you need to know when you are writing a will. Witness. Okay, you all know that, yes, witness is a very common thing, very common word. All of us know what a witness is. But there are certain importance when it comes to the when you come to the person who are signing the will. Okay, so when you say a will, uh, when a person is signing for a witness, okay, signing as a witness in the will, is there any requirement for him? Okay, yes, the requirement is that the person who's signing the will should be of should not be of unsound mind. That means that he should be a major, and he should be aware. He should be aware that he's signing as a witness to the will. Okay, so who can be a witness to the will? He can be anybody. He can be your neighbor, he can be your relative, or he can be your friend. But please remember, beneficiary cannot become a witness to the will. Beneficiary means, who are the beneficiaries? Your children or your own grandchildren or your wife cannot become witness to the will. So how many witnesses are required? There are minimum of two witnesses are required. So when you are choosing somebody as a witness, please make sure that they are of the middle age, like 40-45 years. Don't choose somebody who's older than you, or don't choose somebody who's very young, who's very casual, or college students or something like that, just for the sake of documenting it. Don't get their signature. So the witness also plays a very key role. And you may ask a question like, if I tell a witness to sign, he may come to know the content of the will, and he may misuse it or do something. Please don't worry. As far as the role of witness is concerned, he's just acknowledging the fact that there were there was a testator who has written a will and he was party to it. Okay, with his knowledge, he was signing it. Basically, as per the court of law, they want to confirm that the person who has written a will was not coerced or influenced, or the will was not written through any fraud or duress. Okay, nothing was applied. Basically, the person was of sound mind at the time of writing, and with the knowledge of a witness, the will was executed. That's the basic idea of getting two signatures of the witness signature. Nothing else. He need not know the full content, but he has to be sure that yes, there was a will. I signed to that will. Any point of time in the in case of in future, in case of any litigation or something, if they call the witnesses, he should be in a position to explain that yes, I signed something called a will. Yes, I am aware of the I'm aware that I signed for the will, but not necessary that I'm fully aware of the contents of the will. So with that, the role of a witness ends. But please make sure that you choose the right person for assigning as a witness. Then, when it comes to the beneficiary of the will, they are called basically the legatees. Who are all the beneficiaries? You, yes, to their heart, as a parent, they all, I mean, as parents, they always want to be fair and, want to be unbiased. So they want the immobile property or all their assets to be passed on to their own children in an equal way, right? But there are certain circumstances wherein it is not practically possible to share the wealth in the equal manner. So they may have to choose some kind of impartial approach. Okay, so what could be that scenario? For example, the daughter may be staying in US and she may be well settled. Son may not be earning uh, as well as the daughter, may not be in a well as financially sound position as a daughter. Okay, that could be one scenario. There could be another scenario where daughter or son is has got some kind of imbalance, or physically handicapped, or he needs more care than other children. Okay, physically. So in such cases, physically or mentally or whatever may be the nature, so in such case, as a parent, it is fair, he thinks that it is fair for him to give more wealth or more give more support to the weaker children, weaker son, to the son or daughter, weaker child to the than the rest. In such cases, there is a need for will. Okay, otherwise what happens in the eye of law, whether a person who is financially sound, not sound, or not smart as other person, other son, nothing, there is no distinction, it will be equally shared. Okay, so you may have the good intention that the person, the son or daughter who's slightly not smart or not in a financially sound position should be given more share, but without writing a will, it is not possible. Towards the end, all children will get the equal share. So you have to have some kind of proactiveness in documenting your wishes through a form of will. Okay, so one more thing is that when you are writing a will, please make sure that you hint the reason. Okay, because I am just telling all this out of my experience, because parents intentionally, by heart, they want to love and affection, they want to make sure that they give equally to all children. But when it comes to wealth, they want to support the son or daughter who are not as good as others. Okay, so they want to make sure that that is also given in a equal way by giving more. Okay, equality by inequality, that's what they want to follow, but it's nothing wrong. If that be the case, you please write one line to the will stating, because of these reasons, like, my son who's not as well educated as my daughter, because of his financial, considering his financial conditions, I am giving 70% of my wealth to my son and 30% to my daughter. Okay. The reason why I'm saying is that in case of any dispute, you will never know, because practically the whatever I'm saying is that complete, live case I am sharing. The more the wealth, more the problems. The people who have got 1 crore, 2 crore, they don't have, not much of litigations. The litigations happens only at 10 crore, 15 crore, 100 crores level only. People fight for their share. Okay. So why should I be taken a lesser share? Why should more share be given to my own brother? So these kind of issues comes up. So to avoid all that, you please make it a point that because of these reasons you feel that this should be given. Okay, that is one part. Second, many fail to understand that once after their death, their wife will also, wife gets the right to enjoy, right, right to sell, or whatever rights he is having. I mean, he means what I mean, husband. Whatever husband is having, it is the wife also equally enjoys. Please understand, it is not so. Whatever self-acquired property that you have, earned or you have acquired and you have accumulated, it goes. Your wife also gets one share like your children. She doesn't get your equal share, or she doesn't get 50% of what you have. It goes as one third. She also gets 33% in case if you have two children. So please be careful about it. And there are certain cases where you can pass on the enjoyment, that is called life tenant. Assuming you own a property, you do not want to sell it till your lifespan of your spouse. If that be the case, then you necessarily have to write a will saying this property, my wife or husband or spouse, I'm making it very generic, spouse has the right to enjoy till her lifetime, and after her lifetime, it will get passed on to your children. You can make a will. So unless and until you make a will, this benefit cannot be passed on. So that is one part of it. So then many will ask, what is a, hmm, if I do not write a will, what happens? Like, there is nothing wrong. Anyway, it is going to pass on to my children. So what is the need for writing a will? As I said before, if you want to pass on more benefit to one of your children, will is a must. And if you do not want any kind of discrepancy or no litigation or fight in after your death, it's necessary for you to make your assets in a clearly demarcated way so that it is passed on to the next generation. And many feel that I have got fixed assets, I mean fixed deposits in my bank account. I have nominated the corresponding whomever I want to, that has to be passed on. I have nominated, I have put a nominee as my first daughter. Certain FDs I have which I want to give it to my second daughter, I have put second daughter as nominee. So after my death, it will automatically go to second daughter. This FD will go to my first daughter. Please remember, your planning is good. There is nothing wrong. But in case of any dispute, the first daughter can always say, I was only a nominee. Nominee means does not mean that she can enjoy and she has got full rights over that fixed deposits, proceeds of fixed deposits or maturity of fixed deposits. Again, it comes back to the common pool. What I mean by the common pool, for the first daughter, you have created a FD with a nominee of say 10 lakhs. For the second daughter, you have given a FD of 50 lakhs. Okay. So 10 lakhs plus 50 lakhs put together, it becomes 60 lakhs. 60 lakhs divided by 2, it becomes 30 lakhs each. Okay. Whereas your planning was 50 lakh to the second daughter, 10 lakhs to the first daughter, but it doesn't gets divided in the way that you had planned. Okay. In case of disputes, if there are no disputes, absolutely no problem. It is only a mutual understanding between the two sisters after death of a person. So these are all the issues which will come up. And one more thing what I would like to say is that in case of postal, if you have invested in any post office, please remember, it is after death of a person, there are the practical complications are there in withdrawal or closure or premature closure or withdrawing interest, even for simple matter closing the account also not as simple as you think. So if you have any safe deposits like fixed deposits, post office deposits, you have to be extra careful. Now then you others may ask, what is there need that we have to approach a lawyer or a chartered accountant for writing a will? The answer is no. You can write your own will. It is called as a holographic will. It means that handwritten, it can be a written with your own handwriting. It can be preserved in and then kept for your records. It need not be type soft copy, or it has to be done through the computer or nothing of that sort. And is there necessity for a executor of a will? Who's an executor? Executor of a will is nothing but the person who's going to take care of the administration of your will. It means that after the death there are various assets. Some of the assets are gone to have been distributed to some children, and some there are various complexities involved in distribution of your asset. If that be the case, you need one mediator or a professional who will administer, who will take care of the rules that are specified in the will. So this is basically an external person who's a professional, or he can be your one of your relative. Okay, but when you are appointing an executor, please make sure that the person is competent and he does not have any vested interest in the property. Okay, so otherwise, what happens? Unless and until he comes forward and he executes it, the distribution of your assets after the death of the person will not happen in the way how he wished it. Okay, assuming the executor is not ethical or something, it can go into a different direction. Okay, instead of he coming forward and doing all the formalities, the legal hair will go behind him and beg him, and then request him to complete the formalities. It should not be the case. So when you are appointing an executor, please make sure that you appoint the right person. And when there is an administrator of a will and there is a probate means in case of any litigations, there is a certificate you have to obtain from the court. Okay, and I'm telling you, in practically, I'm just telling, any document you want to approach the court, it involves cost, it involves time, and it has got its own process. So please be careful. Don't push yourself, or push your children to go into getting a probate or something like that. In certain states it's not mandatory, in certain states it's mandatory, and also depends on the value of the assets. It is completely subjective term. If you ask me whether probate is needed for your property, I would say yes, because that's how the law says. But for that matter, why is it needed? If you have a 10 crore worth of property, the person who's buying, assuming you have a Mr. X has a property of 10 crore worth, and he has left his property without writing a will. Okay, so it automatically goes to his first legal heirs. In such cases, then what they need, as a buyer, I want to buy that property, I want to make sure that there are no claimant for that property in future. I want to make sure that future litigations will not come from that any of his claimants. In to safeguard myself, I may ask for, get me legal certificate, give me legal hair certificate, give me probate. So many questions as a buyer of the property I may demand. Okay, and as a seller, if you are in a desperate mode, or if your children are abroad, they may not have time to do all these formalities. Probably they will come here for a 15 days of short visit, and they want to quickly complete the formalities and get back to their own jobs. If that be the case, if a property is there, finding a buyer, there are a lot of complications. I'm telling you, even if you want to sell a small property, say worth 50 lakhs or 1 crore, finding a buyer and then transferring it and registering, the process, minimum process, it takes about 1 month of planning, 1 month of execution. Okay, so because negotiation and other things to happen, assuming on top of it, if you put these kind of issue problems to that property, it will add more problems to that property. So to avoid all that, make sure that your will is clear, and the whatever formalities, legal formalities are required, all are in place, so that anybody who comes forward to buy the property or want to complete the transaction, it will smoothen the process. So that is what I just want to inform you. And there are I will just tell you certain tips for writing a will. You want to write a will, as I mentioned before, anybody can write will in their own name, in their own handwriting. So you need not approach a chartered accountant or a lawyer. You can write your own will. But please, these are all the things which you have to keep in mind. First thing is that list all your assets in a piece of paper or in a computer. List all your assets. When I say all your assets, it has to be your fixed asset, immobile property, and your fixed deposit, mutual funds, and your gold, or whatever it may be, including your car. Please list all your assets and divide it equally among survivors, or whatever way you want to plan it. You want to give it to only one person, or you want to transfer it to some trust, or you want to give it for donation. Please mention all the points, note down all the points, and then as per when you are writing the names of the beneficiaries, make sure that
People are not getting video. Ask people.
Sandhya, are you not getting?
Yeah, I'm getting. It's visible.
Not, somebody is calling. Video is not visible, huh?
It's visible. It's all right.
Okay.
Okay. So
Yeah.
whenever you are making a beneficiary, please make sure that you write their names as per their PAN or Aadhaar, because that's also very important. You may be calling your daughter as Chinnu, Munnu, or whatever your pet names, because that's how our family system works. But please, when you're writing a will, you have to follow certain legal framework. So make sure that you write your daughter's name in full as per the records available in the PAN and Aadhaar. That is very important. And when you are writing a will, write in two copies or three copies. Okay, don't put a carbon paper. If you're writing it through computer, please take three printouts and sign on all pages. Signing on all pages is very, very important. You have to sign on all pages. Keep three. Two is mandatory. You keep three to be on the safer side. Okay, how to preserve your will? I do not have to say. You can keep it in your bank locker, or if your home is safe, you keep it safe. And you need not share the content of your will to your children. You can hint, you have mentioned a will, you have written a will, you can express it, but contents of the will can be kept as, it's not secret. You do not have to reveal, because once you reveal, you do not know in family, and what are the issues might crop up, you may not know. So it's better to be silent with the saying that yes, I have written a will, and it will be uh, it's all based on the trust. And then you can, if necessary, you can mention the executor name, or if you do not have any executor, you can even approach a government officer to be your executor. And when you're writing a will, please don't write all complex English or complex legal terms if you're not sure of your meaning of it. Because I'll tell you, for example, one person wrote a will. He also wrote a will, his wife also wrote a will. If you ask him, no, no, if I die first, this will prevail. If she dies, this will prevail. So people have their own understanding about the will. So before writing a will, just follow certain guidelines. It has to go in that way. Putting some condition may turn against you. It means, like, in legal terms, if I have to say, in 2020 I will transfer the in 2023 I will transfer the assets. Okay, the minute you write, your intention is that after 2 years I am going to pass on this asset to you. That is a meaning. Okay, but the minute you write it, you are relinquishing your right in that minute by writing it. That means that 2023 is certain, it is going to come. That means that from today itself it gets transferred. So you have to be careful when you are wording a will. And when you are putting a conditional clauses in a will, you also have to be little bit more careful about the conditions, what all the conditions can which are feasible. You cannot put some impossible clause in the condition. Only if my son studies in completes his IAS, I will transfer the assets to him. Don't write certain emotional issues or impractical issues into the will. And uh, these are all the basic uh, points which you have to keep in mind before writing the will. Now, many were asking, madam, why should we write a will? Rather, I can gift it to my children. Why should I write a will? I do not have to wait. If I have to transfer my property through will, it will come into force only after my death. Whereas I want to gift it now. Why can't I do that? Better I will execute a gift deed. Please understand, when you are gifting, it has got its own implications. So you have to understand the laws. Law, what I mean is that law, what are the implications of certain taxation provisions when you are gifting, and when you are transferring your property through will, what are all the impact with respect to income tax. Those are also you have to keep in mind. So when you call it as a gift, you can transfer it immediately, like any gold or whatever may be your immobile property, you can give it immediately. Whereas if you want to transfer your mobile property through gift, it has to be registered. Okay, it has to be registered, means unless and until it is registered, it is not a valid gift in case of immobile property. So you have to approach the sub-registrar office. Certain formalities are to be followed. Okay. So second difference is that now the gift tax is abolished. There's no gift tax. So when you are gifting to your son or daughter, whatever may be the value, there is no gift tax. So income tax implication will not come. Whereas if you want to gift it to somebody whom you know, he may be of your friend or he may be of your distant relative, or whomever may be your neighbor or your driver or person who was loyally working with you for 20 years, you want to transfer certain assets to him. It cannot happen. It can happen through will. I'm not saying that it cannot happen, but if you want to transfer it immediately, then gift is the only option. You have to gift it. So if you want to pass on certain benefits to your employee who's not your blood relative, but you want to do it only after your death, yes, perfect, you can definitely do it only through will. Okay, interstate, it will not go to your employee. That means without writing a will, you cannot pass on the benefits to some X or Y or Z who has helped you in your life. Okay, unless and until you write a will, the benefit cannot, you cannot pass on that benefit to your well wishers. Okay, who was helping you throughout your life. Okay, so there are certain things which you have to keep in mind. And many people have certain myth, uh, will is effective during lifetime. Okay, which is wrong. Will come to effect only after death of a person. Till such time, it is only just a paper. Okay. And second thing is that, will should it be written on a stamp paper? The answer is no. Will need not be on a stamp paper. It can be on a plain paper, on a simple plain paper. You do not have to do anything. You can just write it and then keep it safe for your records. And it has to be in a specified format. If you ask me, I would say partially yes, partially no. Strictly speaking, will need not be in any specified format. Whatever comes to your mind, you can put it in paper in clear terms, but the other person, when he reads it, he should be able to derive the same meaning that you are trying to communicate. That's the only thing. If there are certain interpretational issues, then it is better to approach a a professional lawyer or a chartered accountant. Otherwise, it is not required, and it need not be drafted by a lawyer. But one thing, please remember, there are templates available in the Google. Please be careful while before using those templates, because the legal meaning is something different from what we write and what we understand from the plain reading of the plain reading of the document. So it should not be misleading. So make sure that whenever you are downloading any document of will template from the from Google, please make sure that that's also once again verified by somebody, whether your relative or some of the professionals. Will cannot exclude relative, as I said. Will can exclude relatives or include relative, whatever way it can be. You can draft it the way how you want to be. People have the feeling that witness is not required, but please remember, two witness is a must for will. Okay, two witnesses must for a will. So make sure that the will is signed by two witnesses. Whether will should be registered or not is a big question many ask. Actually speaking, will need not be registered. Okay, will need not be registered even if you are passing on your immobile property. But in my view, I would say it is safer to register a will for two reasons. One, it creates more authentication to the document that you have signed, that you have created the will. Second, in case of future disputes, this will act as a valid evidence. Okay, I will tell you why it acts as a valid evidence. In case future, if any dispute comes, okay, if a register if the will is registered, okay, will is registered, nobody can dispute it, or nobody can say that the will was returned without his knowledge or it was partial. Nobody can create any questions or doubt on the person who has written a will. Okay, because the will is written only towards the end of their life. Okay, when a person reaches or thinking that he's going to reach his end of his life very soon, or in next 5 years, 10 years, at that point of time will is written. So when his health condition is not good, then there is every possibility that there is some influence or coercion happens during the time of writing a will. So it is necessary that you have to get a medical certificate or from a doctor stating that you are of sound mind, and at the time of writing the will you are in normal health condition. That is number one. Number two is that once the will is registered, even if you miss it, assuming for whatever reasons you have lost the will along with the papers, it has gone to dustbin or something like that, you have lost the will, because it is a registered will, one copy will always be with the sub register. So it is a registered document. Any point of time you can go pay some minimal fees and get the duplicate of that will. So that copy will always be available with the registrar. Third, as I said, future litigations, if you want to avoid, it will be safe. The buyer of the property will also get more confidence, will have more weightage when there is a registered will is available for him to produce. So what are the care that you have to take while taking a while writing a will is that please let your family be aware that you have written a will. And language of the will, as I said, it has to be careful, and it need not be secret. You can secret, what I mean is that you do not have to share 100% of the content of the will. You can share, you can hint them. Okay, and witness is a must, and handwritten will is a also valid. Now let us come to the digital era. As I said, as I mentioned before, we are in the transition phase. The person who's at the age of 70 is forced to learn the technology. So digitization, in this digital era, there are certain things which you have to pass on, not only your assets, not only your mobile asset, not only your cash or bank balance or property, but also certain digitized form of assets. What are those assets? You may have written a book, or you may created a patent, or you might have created a photo album or music album, or whatever it may be. Those are all in the digital platform. Those things are to be transferred to your next generation. And second thing is that the most critical thing I would say is that password. Okay, so everywhere there is a password. I have seen, as per my knowledge, many senior citizens, either they write their password in a notebook, and keep it safe, so that notebook will be open and accessible for all. Okay, so the purpose of password itself is lost. Okay, because they can't remember the password, So they will write it, document it in a piece of paper. So please be careful. And one more thing is that whenever there is a income tax returns you are filing, and there are various, your bank account has got a password, those passwords are to be preserved and needs to be passed on to the next generation. So please don't think that only the assets are to be passed on to the next generation. Even these are all called as digital assets. Your password, your mutual fund records, your all the other records, like record, what I mean is that income tax password, and your login id and username password of your demat account, not only the savings bank account but the demat account, all the passwords are to be preserved and kept safe, whomever you feel is no confidential person of your choice. Okay. And one more thing is that your mobile number, now if you look at it, all otp goes to your comes to your mobile number and your email address. So these two are very critical. It has to be kept very very safe, and you have to document it somewhere. How you will document it, how you will share it, it's purely personal, I leave it to you. But make sure that these things are also passed on. And one more thing, if you are running any small business or something like that, you would have taken subscription for 1 year, that will get expired in between. If a person dies, then how to pass on that planning you may have to do. And one more critical thing, very very important when it comes to income tax, if a person dies in the middle of the year, okay, during the year, obviously everybody will die at some point, which falls in that financial year, then what are the precautions that are to be taken? Whether should they file the returns, or who has to sign on their behalf? Whether should their bank account be kept open or should it be closed? Who will get the refund? What are the forms to be filed? There are various questions are raised by senior citizens. So we will address it in a more detailed way when it when that happens. So let us, that need not be planned, that can be, when the situation comes we will handle it. But one thing I would like to add here is that if a person dies during the year, please don't close the account immediately. Okay. Of course, as per banking norms, as per banking regulations act, you have to inform to the bank, the person who has expired, his accounts are to be closed, all his accounts are to be closed. But please take some time, close all accounts but keep one account safe. I mean, keep it open, so that in case of any income tax refund or any other money which has to come, it can be deposited only in that account. Okay. So please convince the bank and make sure that one account of the person who expired is not closed. If you close all the accounts, then you cannot open. If any benefits in the form of dividend, or in case of any other income tax refund, anything has to come, then it cannot be deposited into any other account or nominee account, or even if there is a will, it cannot be given to the next person, I mean his beneficiary, the beneficiary of that person, it cannot be passed on. There are certain rights which dies along with that person. If the person dies, that right also, he loses his rights. So there are certain things which are very personalized. In certain cases, in those circumstances, it becomes difficult to, you cannot open an account. So please be careful. Keep one account active. Okay. So preferably let it be a joint account. Let it be a joint account. Let the joint account be alive till all the formalities, any refund or anything has to come, let it come. Only after that confirmation you close that account. Don't be under any pressure from bank, or out of fear, please don't close all accounts. It is not advisable. Then with respect to these are all the general questions which many raise. If a property is owned by a female, okay, we were talking about only a person, male person. What happens to a lady, who acquired her property out of her own skills, or she was earning basically, and she has her property, and also she had some inherited property. So what, whether her husband will get a share after her death. Is that what the question? Assuming she was earning, she was working in, she retired from her job, she has created her own wealth. Over and above that, she has got inherited health as well. After her death, will her husband also get a share, or will it automatically be passed on to her children? The answer is yes. In case of her death, also her husband will also get a share. Okay, even in case of inherited property, that's what I want to drive here. Even in case of inherited property, if she has acquired it from her grandfather or her great grandfather, her after her death, her husband also will get a share. Okay, so that is one thing. And in case of any female, other practical problem which many ask me is that, uh, see, there is a female in a joint family. She wants a portion of that, property, but she wants to get out of that property and wants to convert that into money. Okay, basically it's a joint house, somebody is living in that house, there are group of people living in that house. She is in need of money, so she says, please give me in proportion of my share in terms of money. I want to sell that property and get it. Can she initiate that process? As per Hindu Succession Act, it is not allowed, because it's being a dwelling house. Since people are already living there, she cannot initiate the process of selling and liquidating that immobile property and then taking her share out in the form of cash. She cannot do that. She has to wait till the properties, all the others decide to sell and liquidate that property. She cannot do. But one thing what she can do is that if she's in need of money, she can always relinquish her rights by giving a proper document, a registered document. Then to that extent of that, on that day, whatever may be the market value, she can get it, get it from other brothers or whomever is the members of that HUF. She can always get it. So there are ways to legally do it. The main reason why I'm bringing out this issue is that there are senior people who do not have time or patience to wait till the property is liquidated. Probably they think that it will take another 20 years. By the 20 years, they may not be alive. So but still they want to get that money. They do not want to forfeit their share. In such case, how to go about? Is that what their question is? That it's a practical case, and as per law it is not allowed. So how to go about? Because many will misuse that. So to avoid anybody cheating or anybody misusing their rights, there are proper ways of doing it. When the situation comes, we also advise on how to go about legally. Okay, so you need not have to worry about, there is no provision in the act. There are ways to do it properly. So one more, we have come to the last end of the session. Many have a question saying, I am 75-year-old. In 2021 finance bill, it was announced by Nirmala Sitharaman, finance minister, that our honorable finance minister, that uh, senior citizens need not file the income tax returns. What is the uh, you know uh, truth, or is it true? Okay, or is it the correct statement, or their understanding, is that correct? The answer is yes, their understanding is correct. 75 years and above, they need not file their income tax returns, provided there are certain conditions. Okay, one, they do not have any business income. They do not fall under the taxable limit. For a senior citizen, if it is 3 lakh or 5 lakh, whatever is at that year's minimum threshold limit, which will not attract tax. If comes to, if their income is up to that limit, then income tax return need not be filed. And one more thing is that and one more sorry, if you have sorry, if you have bank account in 3 or 4 places, aggregate of all interest exceeds the amount not subjected to TDS, then then this provision is not applicable. For example, up to 40,000, bank will not deduct TDS. If if you have account with only one bank, and if your TDS is not if your interest income is not exceeding 40,000, then TDS is not applicable. Whereas if you have in 4 bank accounts, each bank you have got 40,000 interest, then this provision is not applicable. So you have to be careful. As long as TDS is not deducted, as long as your income, whatever may be the income, dividend income or interest income or pension or whatever may be the income, if it does not cross the taxable limit, then you do not have to file your returns. Otherwise, it is mandatory for you to file your returns. One more thing is that by mistakenly bank has deducted for a TDS of say 100 rupees. Okay, small amount 100 rupees, and you have given form 15G or H to bank, but even after, despite giving, they have deducted TDS. In such case, you are forced to file the returns. Sorry. In such case also, you are forced to file the returns. So from this year, there are 2 schemes. One is the new scheme and the other one is the old scheme. In the old scheme, you can continue to avail the deductions. Say your LIC or whatever you are paying, any senior citizen fixed deposit or anything, whatever you are paying under ATC or eligible. So many people ask, okay, this year I choose a new scheme since the tax liability is working out to be beneficial for me. So what happens to the next year? Should I follow the same, or can I switch to old scheme? As far as senior citizens are concerned, as long as they do not have any business income, they are free to switch from old scheme to new scheme or new scheme to old scheme year on year. There is no conditional prohibition. You can choose the way how you want to be. So third is that, do you want to continue your investment under section 80C? Because every year they have to block 1.5 lakhs. So since if new scheme is going to be beneficial, should they invest in that 80C or need not invest? The answer is need not be invested, because if your new scheme is beneficial for you, please stick on to that. In the next few years, in the coming years, for all citizens, maybe irrespective of their age, slowly the deductions, ATC or whatever deductions the government is giving, will be slowly withdrawn. So the old scheme itself will be withdrawn in the years to come. But we cannot predict, because of various reasons, pandemic, all these things did not expect. When the finance minister announced, she did not expect that these things are going to come up. So depending on the economic conditions, year on year the taxation laws are also changing. In the budget only, if they announce, and if it gets notified only, we will have more clarity. But as of now, for the financial year 21-22 and 22-23, the schemes are in force. So if you feel that the new scheme is going to give you more benefit in the form of saving tax or payment of taxes, please go ahead. You do not have to block your money under ATC investments. And one more question they ask is that, do we have to declare all interest, including fixed interest or anything, including savings bank interest? The answer is yes. You are required to declare all your income, irrespective of whether taxable or exempted or whatever may be. Please declare all your income, because now the processing is done by automated artificial intelligence and computer driven processes. We will as far as the computer is concerned, whether it is a 10 rupees or 100 rupees or 1 crore, doesn't matter. As long as it will compare the numbers with what you have declared in your income tax return and the bank statement. If there is a mismatch, it will immediately start sending the notices for non disclosure of income. Okay, so it is a routine process because the computer cannot differentiate. It cannot differentiate. It doesn't have any analytical brain to, you know, go beyond the fact saying, you know, okay, he's a senior citizen, he doesn't have any other income, it is only 100 rupees, so let me not send the notice to him. This logic will not be applicable. If it is done by a human being, yes, he will not be serving any notice. Since the process, everything is automated, in the years to come, you may have to be more careful. Any non-disclosure, the automated notice will come. Okay, once you get a notice, nothing to fear, it can be defended and it can be filed. But since the age, you know, because of the age, I'm just telling, because they get tensed why the notice department, income tax department has served a notice. This is their standard protocol which they follow, so nothing to fear or anything. So with this, I conclude my presentation. I thank all participants for taking your time and attending this session. If you have any doubts, any point of time, you can always write to me or approach me. In today's session, if you have any doubts, you are, I'm just keeping the floor open for all questions. You are free to raise the questions. You either you can CVR. Sir, you can. One second. Sir, can you hear me? He has raised his hands. Gopal Shastri. I will.
I am hearing you, madam.
Sir, if you have any doubts, you please.
See, actually, today entire India is under trouble of corporate governance succession.
Correct.
It was been accepted by Rahul Gandhi in Pittsburgh speech.
Yes, sir.
Succession for property, it is very good. Succession for corporate governance is dangerous to the nation.
Exactly.
Do you agree with me or not, sir?
Yes, sir.
That's only my question is.
Yes, sir. True, sir.
And it has lost the professionalism and it has gone to briberism. And even political succession has makes a lot of nuisance to the country.
Yes, sir. I think in corporate world, we shouldn't bring in emotions or dynasty into this. Even in politics, it shouldn't be followed.
Especially succession in corporate governance has led to so many corruptions, and they train their wards only in corrupting how it is. All the 70 years of our independence, the corporate governance has got great skills in corporate in corrupting the practices. Actually, even Woza, who is the finance minister of the same Narendra Modi government, he himself said there are so many laws that are not being clearly defined in corporate law when there is whereas in criminal law it is there.
Correct.
Am I right?
Yes, sir.
So in order to that, is there any provisions that are required that the finance minister has to be done in her speech in the next coming years?
Sir, as far as corporate succession is concerned, it's altogether different topic. When you are professionally running an organization, yes, they also need to plan for their succession. It is not that they can, whatever their sweat and energy, what they have put in building the organization can be passed on to the shareholders or the next generation without they being tested for their integrity or without being tested for their, hard work or something like that. So ultimately, as a promoter, even if you are a promoter today, I mean, even if you are a promoter, if you are putting say 50 years of effort, definitely you may you may try to take out some portion of it from your business and then pass on only to the balance to the next generation. So how it has to be structured in a professional way, there is a different altogether. It's a different planning there. I'm not saying that that is completely wrong or right, but there is a method to do that.
Okay, thank you, madam.
I have unmuted Mr. Gopal Shastri. Whoever has raised hands, I have enabled them to talk with video. They can always switch on and talk.
Hello, madam.
Yes, sir.
I have raised a question. You said witness is compulsory.
Yeah.
But in these days, somebody takes a videograph and make it is what is called a CD or something like that. Can it be kept as a what is called as a witness? Because itself, a person himself is speaking.
Sir, it has to be documented. He has to sign it. Okay.
Sign it. After signing it, the content of it, if he reads by himself, and he made a CD and kept it as a what is called evidence, and instead of witnesses, will it be survived as equivalent to witness?
What is it? Again, he wants to. What is he trying to do? The witness.
The witness reads, not witness, madam, a testee.
Okay.
Testee, he himself read all the content what he has written and recorded in a CD and
Okay.
kept it as a witness. Without witness, will it stand equally?
No. It has to be witness. Should be a third person, preferably not native. So he cannot he cannot record it and say that yes, I have stored it some place. This is the safe. No. It
Okay.
has to be authenticated by a third person, sir.
Okay, by law it is required.
Yes.
Mrs. Sujata, can I raise some questions?
Yes, sir. Please.
First and foremost, without wasting much of the time, I would certainly like to thank you for the lucid manner in which you had explained everything. It was extremely interesting.
Yes, sir.
And I would also like to thank one Mr. Sridhar who had sent me the link. Otherwise, I would not have had the chance to attend to it. Having said that, I've got few questions to ask you, madam.
Yes.
So you see, you had in the slide where you have compared the will versus gift. You had mentioned that there are certain conditions in which tax is applicable when once the property is transferred through will. So would you just suggest that as we decide, and I mean, when once as an elderly person, you have financial security and you want to circumvent this tax part of it, you keep only the immovable property under your name and keep it under the will, and part of the monetary benefits, is it worthwhile transferring it as a gift?
Yes, sir. You can transfer.
Okay.
You can do that.
Okay.
That would be the best.
Thank you. Number one, madam, and some of us being NRIs and having left and then come back to India during this pandemic, if our funds are still stuck in abroad and we have already retired, and of course, which necessitates we going back to foreign country and then sending the money back to India, I hope it will not be taxable.
Sir, we need to see the transaction. I cannot say that it is not taxable because it depends on your residential status.
Madam, may I first request others to mute their mics because there is a lot of crosstalks and I'm unable to get you clearly. May I request others to mute their mics, please? Hello? Madam, can you hear me now?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I request all others to mute, please.
Yeah, madam, I just want to understand, say for example, today, if some funds are stuck abroad because we had to leave abroad and rush back to India. And, we were, of course, we have got retired in the process. And, the funds which are living abroad, which is earned and taxed in the local country, if I have to transfer it back to India, I hope it will be not taxable.
Sir, that's what we cannot, I cannot give a blanket answer saying that, it is not taxable. If you are taking or bringing the repatriating the principal, then that amount is not taxable. If that amount has earned any interest, okay, interest or dividend in that country, though it has suffered a tax in that country, still it would be taxable in India because your residential status has changed in the last 2 years. Okay.
Okay. So that
Yeah, double
so
tax
that
avoidance agreement.
so this taxation would only be on the accrued interest. Say, for example, if there are some government sponsored mutual fund in which people have invested abroad to to avail the tax exemption, so that should not be taxed. If I encash it there and bring it back to India, it should not be taxable. Is my understanding correct, madam?
Sir, it's not so. Your understanding, your argument is correct, but as far as the law is concerned, if you're a resident in India, then your global income is taxable, whether it is accrued or received or whatever may be the case, it will be taxed in India because of your residential status. Since you,
Okay.
if you have suffered taxes, that country is also taxing on that income. If you say that India is also taxing income, in the same income is getting taxed in both countries. Okay. So there are, for to avoid double taxation, there are certain benefits are there as per the double taxation treaty avoidance agreement. So we have to refer those specific provisions, then only we would be able to advise.
Okay. Thanks, madam. I would not like to waste the time of others because it may be specific to me. So I am talking about a country where India has a double taxation treaty. So I hope that it will be taken care. But of course, if I need some clarification, I'll get back to you on this particular point, madam.
Yes, sir. Yeah.
Okay. And a couple of other questions, madam.
Yes.
You see, in your presentation, you have mentioned relative. I think it is a very misleading terminology, according to me. Of course, you must have thought about it. You see, gift can only be given to the blood relation. Is my understanding correct, madam?
Not necessary, sir. You can give it to your friend also. In that case, it will be income tax would be applicable.
Correct. Sorry. I mean, I put my question again in a different way. If I give money to my own blood relation, it is not taxable. But if I give it to anybody else, it comes under income tax purview.
Correct. Up to 50,000, it's not taxable. Beyond 50,000, it would be taxable. So you can give
Madam.
Yeah.
Madam, I just want to understand, supposing if one has, say today I have 100 rupees and I want to make an investment and I realize if I put everything in my name, the entire earnings will get taxed. So and if I want to make it say 50-50, 50 in my wife's name and 50 in my name, even then I have to do transfer 50 rupees to my daughter as a gift, and then my daughter has to transfer that 50 rupees to her mother as gift, and only then she can invest. Is it?
No, you're talking about current scenario, or what is it about? Will you're talking
about current scenario? Today, if I have 100 rupees with me, and if I put and I invest everything in a fixed deposit only in my name, the entire interest that will be earned would be getting taxed under single individual. So if I want to divide it between me and my wife, what I should do is I should transfer 50% of it to my daughter as gift, and then my daughter has to transfer that 50 rupees as gift to my wife, and then my wife has to invest. Is it?
No, not necessary. You do not have to route it through your daughter to gift it to your wife. Okay, there are two things here. One, yes, you can gift it to your wife, no doubt. Okay, but it shouldn't be used as a mechanism to evade tax. Okay, if it is used as a mechanism to evade tax, then as per Income Tax Act, though you might have gifted to your wife, it will be clubbed in your hands while filing your tax returns. If the income tax authorities comes to know that you have done this planning just to evade tax, then it will be clubbed in your hands. Whoever is having more income, it will get clubbed.
So, okay, so it is better to then route it through your daughter.
Not routing it through your daughter is not the mechanism. It cannot, I mean, unless and until there is a necessity for you to gift, you cannot gift it. It cannot be used. Gift cannot be used as a mechanism to plan your taxes, saving your taxes, income tax.
So, madam, supposing if you have invested everything in your name since the beginning as a NRI in your name, and after you become resident Indian, you want to divide it into two parts, how will you do it then?
then you can do it. See, it need not be in your gift deed is not required. Since assuming I'm from your whatever you are asking, what I understand is that some X and Y, X and Mrs. X have lived in US say for 20 years. They have come and settled down in India. While opening the FD, they want to create two different FDs. Is my understanding is correct? And wife was not earning. I mean, wife was a
Housewife.
housewife. Okay.
Yeah.
In that case, whether splitting of income is that correct? Yes, you can do it. There's absolutely no problem. You do not need to have any specific gift deed for that.
Okay.
Do it. You can always say that it was out of our accumulated savings and out of love and affection. You have transferred it through legal means, like it was a bank transfer. It was not through
Okay.
other means. So you can.
So I
always,
can I can even do it through my daughter to my wife.
yes, you can do it.
Okay, thanks, madam. And one more things, madam. But of course, the gift, whatever gift that you're doing, it has to be shown in the income tax filing also. How much gift you gave, how much gift you received, and all that.
Yeah, we have to see, sir. Only if it is necessary, you have to disclose, because sometimes what happens, giving too much of information also gets into scrutiny or something like that. We want to be more honest, we want to disclose everything, but still departments looks at it in a different angle. They serve notice. So keep your documents, everything in place. If any scrutiny comes, you can always disclose, but don't volunteer too much information unless and until it is mandatory.
Okay, okay. Madam, and sorry, I did not understand what is the meaning of executor.
Executor.
Yeah, of the will.
Executor of a will is a person who will assist, who will take the legal responsibility of distribution of wealth, distribution of the property, or making sure that it is transferred to the beneficiaries as specified in the will.
So in the will, you'll have to mention executor's name, is it?
Executor name also should be mentioned.
And
come forward and help in distribution of the property.
And madam, in case if you want to make a generic will in which you say, supposing if you have 3 sons or 3 daughters, you just make a generic will saying all my immovable and movable properties would go equally 33.33% across these 3 persons. And say, for example, if there is a movable property in terms of a housing where they are not living, but it is say either kept locked or kept or given to tenant. At some point in time, if one of the so one of the daughters want to get out of it, that 33.33%, she can either sell it off to the others, or she will have to wait it out till all the others agree to sell the property. Is my understanding correct, madam?
The first thing is that property, what you mentioned, house is a immobile property.
Right.
That is not a movable property. Second,
absolutely.
Second is that if you want to give it to your somebody is living, only in case of any inherited property, I'm saying. See, assume you have a daughter. Okay, there are people who are living there. She wants to get a share from that property. In that case, she has to request her own brothers and sisters to get that share. Whatever.
Madam, I think I'll rephrase my question. I'm sorry if I have put it in the wrong manner. Madam, I'm telling, say there is an immovable property which was earned by the person who is writing the will. Okay.
Self-acquired.
It's an immovable property which that guy has purchased through his own earning, and he is writing a will to be distributed across all his 3 kids. Okay, so tomorrow amongst the 3, and that house is not being occupied, let's say for the sake of discussion, either it is locked or it is being given to a tenant.
Okay.
So one of the 3 people say they want to get out of it, so they want to sell their share of 33.33%, and obviously this being an immovable property, she or he cannot sell the property to a third party 33% of it. So she or he can sell it only to her sisters or brothers.
Exactly.
Right. If that be so, when once a immovable property is written in the names of the children, say 3 in numbers, all will have to come to a consensus opinion if they want to get out of it. Am I correct, madam?
Correct, perfectly. Sir, when it comes to immobile property, as you said, 3 people are interested. The preferential rights goes to the other 2 legal heirs. Okay, in your case, you say one daughter, she wants to get out of the property. Okay,
Mm.
she cannot. First option comes to the other brothers and sisters. They have got the first right. Okay, they have to come forward and say, yes, we will buy your share. We will buy your adequate compensation. We will pay for you. Then only she can get out of the property. She cannot find some external person to collect money and then later. All those things are not possible. As per preferential rights, the other two people will get the rights. Then they have to release her out of that through proper legal deed. Then only she can exit from that property.
Madam, when once the will is written, how complicated is it to get it registered, madam?
It's not complicated, sir. The person testator will have to visit the sub-register office, and they will do the formalities. It is a matter of 1 hour. Okay. In case if the person is very old, on request, even the registrar will come forward to their house, and he will also extend some support. But it requires some money for him for his visit and other things. But he wants to make sure that the person comes, either the testator visits the registrar office, or the registrar comes to that testator's place. Because as I mentioned before, the will should be returned by a sound person. It should not be under any duress or coercion. So they want to make sure that the person is writing his will in a good health and mental condition. That's what they want to enforce.
Yeah, madam, of course, I have few more questions which I do not want to take up because I should also give time to the others. And that's the reason I'm cutting it short. But having said that, thank you so much, madam. But if I would be happy if you could say, if I could get your telephone number and contact details so that personally I can come and meet you.
Sure, sir. No problem. We'll share.
How do we get it, sir? How do we get it, madam?
I will share this PPT, sir. It's there in that PPT.
Okay. Thanks, madam, and have a good day. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Can I ask one question, madam?
Yes, sir.
Madam, this is Sridhar. Thank you very much for the presentation. It was very nice.
Yes.
But some parts of it, of course, require greater understanding. So I think in a brief 1 hour presentation, we won't be able to understand everything. I had one simple question. If a person buys interstate without a will, and that person had shares in companies, listed companies, then is it right that if one can go to get a family tree, say from revenue department in Bangalore, in Karnataka,
Yes.
and you send it to that listed company, then they'll transfer the shares? Does it work like that?
Sir, family tree is also not required. If he has a death certificate and legal health certificate, what you need is legal health.
Madam, I couldn't hear. You said if you have a death certificate,
Others can request others to give.
hello.
Yeah, sir, you can give to the company. You can submit the legal hair certificate and the death certificate. With
No,
that,
but,
it will automatically get transferred to the legal hair.
no, but legal in Bangalore, we get something called family tree, not a legal hair certificate, no?
Legal hair certificate you get, sir. Family tree, you have to construct it with the help of lawyer.
Yeah.
Where you have 2 generation or any ancestral properties there. In such cases, it is needed. But if you get a legal hair certificate from BBMP and death certificate, with that you should be able to establish the fact that you are the claimant is a genuine person, and he is the son or daughter of the person who's holding those shares. It will get transferred by filling up the appropriate forms. Share transfer forms are to be filled, and automatically through DMAT it gets transferred.
Oh, I see. Okay. And my second question was, earlier in the beginning of the presentation, you were drawing a differentiation between, interstate, ancestral property, and self-acquired property. You were saying that, for some, you will follow only the succession laws.
Correct.
And for some, you can follow a will. So what is that?
No. See, if you have not returned any will, assuming that no will is returned, it goes as per the Hindu Succession Act. If there is will is returned, then it goes as per the Indian Succession Act as well as the Hindu Succession Act everything it follows. If there is no will itself is not written, nothing. See, if somebody has died without any will, so how is it to be distributed? It has to be distributed through their legal heir, first legal heir, second legal heir, like that. So the first legal heir, second legal heirs are all mentioned in the Hindu Succession Act 1956. Indian Succession Act is 1925, which is common for all, not only for Hindus. It is also applicable for Parsis and Buddhist and others also. Those Christians also. Hindus, Indian Succession Act only is applicable, not Hindu Succession Act. That's the only difference.
Okay, so if there is a will, then Indian Succession Act will be followed.
If it is a will, it goes as per the will. If it is
As
a
per the
will, it goes as per the will. In support of that, they have to refer some law. The law which is directly relatable is Hindu Succession Act.
Okay, and also now can it just ignore all the Hindu laws, Indian laws, and say, okay, I want to give it to a total stranger. I want to give it to I don't want to give anything to relatives. Can I give it to anybody who's not a relative?
You can give, but
Yeah.
it has to be. That's why establishing. See, tomorrow the relatives can come and always fight, saying, it was the will was written with some intention by third party.
Oh, right.
So, if, for example, if I have to say murder, even if your own children, assuming Mr. X is there, he was murdered by his son. Okay, I'm just picking some example. He was murdered by his son. The minute the through criminal branch or whatever IPC, if they come to know that he was a abettor or he was a party to that crime, then he loses the benefit of passing on his entire ancestral property to him. He fails to become, he ceased to become the legal heir if the fact is proved that he was party to that murder.
Right.
So to that extent, the laws are very careful. So when you are saying that I have legal heir, but I'm Mr. X is transferring his entire property, life saving, ancestral property, forget it. He doesn't have rights. His self-acquired property, he's free to distribute to anybody. But leaving all his children, if he's giving to some Mr. X or Y to other person, so say from charity, then it has to be substantiated by facts while writing the will. Since my children are self-sufficient, I want to, out of my own interest, out of gratitude, I want to contribute something to the country. I am giving away all my property to this charitable trust. Something he has to write in his will, document it in his will, so that tomorrow his own children, after looking at the will not go to the court.
Madam, one question. When you say probate means what? Basically, it's a will which is registered with the court, right?
Probate, yeah. Once the will is registered, even after registered, the court has to certify that yes, this is correct. This is the next step. Probate is the next step. Say there are certain cases, what happens, will also gets amended. That is called codicil. So sometimes, say in the year one, he writes a will, okay, saying this property goes to my first daughter, that property goes to my second daughter. Then after 2 years down the line, he decides to sell the property. So first property itself does not exist. So he will end up writing the will, second will. Okay. He can write any number of will, but the second will should have the reference of the first will. He can amend the will. So if that be the case, then there are so many codicils are there. Then to establish the fact that which is the final will, which is the correct one, how to appropriate the property, in such cases it is better to go through the probate rule and get the certified document from the high court stating that this is what the final thing, this is what the authenticity of the will. So for that is needed. Otherwise, it's not required. In the normal circumstances, it is not required unless there is any serious litigation.
Okay, and as a general rule, is it to do across the states, especially South India? Is it correct that the registering authority, whoever it is, registrar, they will always insist on a registered will before transferring immovable property to the beneficiary,
Sir, it is not so, but it is preferable. In case of immovable property, it is preferable, but it is not required.
Not required.
In some states, they insist. In Karnataka, it is not mandatory that you have to register a will. even if you are transferring immovable property.
Oh, I see.
As long as there is no dispute, if there are any claimants or any son or daughter wants to dispute it, that's when the problem comes up. As long as things are going fine, no issues.
And if the person passes away and he forgot to register the will, subsequently can it be registered to ease the transfer of immovable property?
No, without he being the owner of the property, he's the testator. Unless, I mean, if he dies, then there's no question of writing the will. It automatically, as per Hindu Succession Act, it goes to his heirs, legal heirs.
No, I'm saying there is a will, but it was not registered during his lifetime. After that, can it be registered so that immovable property can?
No. Without registration of the will has to happen when he is alive.
Okay. Okay.
It cannot be done because he has to come and sign. It is like
Okay.
selling of the property.
Okay. Madam, one last question, specifically because I have gone through this recently. We are talking about family tree and succession certificate. From whatever I was advised and informed by others, I was able to get a family tree from the revenue department in Kamata, Karnataka, specifically in South Bangalore. Just for the information help, this will help all other people who are listening.
Yeah.
If you want a family tree, you have to go to the revenue department, which is near Banashankari Temple in South Bangalore.
Yeah.
Right. That's where you get a family tree. The revenue department, the village accountant, and all those people are involved. And there is a small, you have to give affidavits, etc. Family tree, you are able to get like that. Succession certificate, people said nobody knew where to get, where is it? Because they also said family tree is there. That is what is succession certificate also.
Legal hair certificate, succession certificate, only in case of any dispute, you have to get it certified, and then affidavit needs to be done, notarized. Those formalities are there. For getting a probate, succession certificates are all needed. But if you want it for a simple purpose, family tree, first you have to structure your family tree, go to the register office. With the help of lawyer, you can structure it, because the family tree also needs to be constructed keeping in mind the hair one, schedule one of schedule one, class one, schedule of the Indian Hindu Succession Act, and class 2 hairs. So all those things are to be kept in mind before drawing the family tree. It is just not simply that we write and then submit it, and the registrar gives the certificate of family tree. It's not that. It needs some professional help. That's what I want to drive.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Yeah. So, is there in Q&A? Oh, sorry, there are so many questions are there. Consolidation mean we should move all FDs into one bank. Sir, that would be preferable, because nowadays you get very small difference between banks. Bank interests across all banks have become common. If you feel that some banks are giving higher rate, please keep it. But my personal advice for all senior citizens would be, don't keep in multiple banks, and don't take any risky investments for marginal increase of 0.5 or 5% or 1% going to the cooperative bank or something like that, because principal is so it's okay. Then can we get a copy of we will get? I will share it. Okay.
Madam, hello. One thing you said, keep all the deposits in one bank, but each bank is given only 5 lakhs for its. If it comes to the reconciliation, you have to be kept only 5 lakhs. Is it worth to keep all the deposits in one bank?
No. What 5 lakhs, sir?
Madam, if you go for the what is called recently that finance ministry has given, if you have including your SB accounts, FD accounts, or all accounts, your deposits will be insured for only 5 lakhs.
Sir,
In that case, keeping in only one bank, is it worth to keep it?
Sir, as per banking regulations act, only up to 5 lakhs, irrespective of cooperative bank, even if you keep 1 crore in SBI or Canara Bank or whatever may be the bank, insurance is there. The government assures you to give back only 5 lakhs. Okay.
Huh.
Balance is not it's not safe
Huh.
for theoretical and practically. If you keep any money in scheduled banks, it's much safer as compared to the cooperative banks. That's what I'm trying to say. But as a best practice, you can distribute it in 2 or 3 nationalized banks instead of keeping everything in one bank.
Okay. And last and least, another question is, if a senior citizen keeps in his FD, his what is called the SSC scheme is there, some 15 lakhs eligibility. That he keep a nominee in which effect is that money is to be distributed among the legal heirs equally or to the custodianship only. Suppose he keeps 15 lakhs in SSC.
Okay.
Other deposits equally, that means all legal heirs will get equal share, even though the nominee has only a custodianship for it.
Correct. So nominee takes the custodian of
Nominee is only a custodian, madam.
correct.
And legal heirs only get what the legal eligibility that is there.
Exactly.
So in case of is the same thing happens in case of SSC scheme also.
Senior citizen certificate. What is it?
Yes, 15 lakhs.
Yeah. So the rules are the same. Sir.
Achha, that doesn't come under a special act.
No.
Achha, okay, then if you keep in one bank some 50 lakhs with along SSC, that SSC 15 lakhs doesn't come under the bank deposit of the same registration number. Is it correct? It's a little complicated question it is. Try to understand me what I want to say. You keep a 50 lakhs in a bank, say, and 15 lakhs you keep in SSC account.
Okay.
And 35 lakhs you keep in the bank.
Okay.
Then the registration of 5 lakhs is only for the 35 lakhs or for 50 lakhs.
Sir, it is everything, including your FP, SB, everything, all inclusive.
But SSC scheme is not registered with this number. Is it correct?
No, registered. You are given only one customer ID, no, from bank. Customer ID.
Yes, only. But SSC is done completely different way than to the bank accounts, madam. Actually, it goes to the GB. That means government modules. SSC scheme goes to the government modules. So once it is due to the government modules, it cannot be combined with the bank accounts. That's what exactly my please.
So what you need to say is that the bank is facilitating you to open.
That's all. But therefore, that doesn't come under this registration.
Then it is not called as a fixed deposit. It will not even fall under fixed deposit.
Okay, need a little verification in this area, madam.
It will not fall under it. That SSC is different, then it will not come under the banking regulations of fixed deposit.
Yes, exactly. Yes, because the money doesn't come with the bank. It completely goes to the government.
Correct. If that doesn't come, then that would be different. But I need to see what exactly you are doing.
I want to say it is the amount is not with the bank. Therefore, it doesn't come under that 15 lakh doesn't come under the 5 lakhs limit. It's a completely different behavior. It is.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Yes. When you write a will by hand, where should you register it?
It's work.
Yeah, you can register it at the nearby register office where your jurisdiction comes. If it is a JP Nagar, then it is near Polan Kunte, so accordingly you can register. Okay. Any other questions, sir?
Yes, this is Karthikeyan.
Yes, sir.
It's an excellent presentation, clarifying everything, the myth versus reality and various terms of the writing a will. My question is, one need not register a will, but if the testator decides to register the will, what should be the value of stamp paper that he should use to write the will and then register it?
Sir, it depends on the value of the property. Maybe it ranges between 0.5 to 1%, 0.5% to 1%. It is lesser than gifting. It is lesser than gifting a property.
So the moment you decide to register a will, you have to consider the market value of the property, and then whatever that value is, 0.5% or 1%, that's the amount of stamp paper that you have to buy.
Yes.
So you cannot register a will on a simple paper. It has to be on stamp paper.
Not required. You can register a will. Will can be handwritten in a plain paper. When you
Right.
are going to register, he will collect the stamp duty. The registrar will collect.
Oh, regardless of whether you do it on stamp paper or plain paper, you still have to pay that 0.5% or 1%.
Yes, he will frank it. He will frank it to that equivalent amount. He will make it as a valid judicial document.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you.
Case of testator wishes to register will, what should value? Okay, it's better to diverse mutual fund and share and gift it now itself to children. How will the transfer happen? Mutual fund shares. How should the legal hair and death certificate be given to mutual fund company and share company? Yeah, so these things are all, you have to approach the mutual fund houses and then get it transferred. But if you want to do it all the liquid assets, you can do it when you are live, or my personal suggestion would be till your lifetime, do not transfer anything, how much ever affectionate, how much ever bonding you have with your children, just to safeguard the interest of your spouse. It is till your lifetime, keep your assets in your name. Don't transfer it before that. Don't be in a hurry to do any gift deed or something. Let it be like a will. So with this, I conclude today's session. Thank you, thanks all of you once again for your patient hearing, and your suggestions are always welcome. We'll meet in some other program. Thank you all of you.